So we're going to take a look at a few different things just to get us started. Hopefully you spent some time going through the opening exploration, and I'm going to cut to what the summarizing details were. So again, if you have questions in that opening piece, please let me know. But jumping over to that page 3, so right here, looking at a regular polygon, we have a few details that we can assume. So once it has n sides, we know that the sum of the interior angles can be written some form of this, n minus 2 times 180. The idea being that the number of sides we will have 2 fewer triangles when we draw all the diagonals from one vertex, and we know that the sum of the angles of a triangle add up to 180. So that's our starting formula. You'll see this written lots of different ways. Sometimes the 180 is in front, sometimes it's multiplied through and we'll say 180n minus 360. I don't care how you go about writing it, as long as it's equivalent to the statement. This is how I learned it, so this tends to be how I phrase it, but you've got options. Now, if we want to make the jump to the measure of one interior angle, well, if this is the sum of all interior angles, all we need to do to find one interior angle is divide by the number of sides we have, and that's n. Made a small smudge when I was writing it, so that is just an n in the denominator. The numerator is our total sum, so if we divide it by our number of angles, aka our number of sides, we get the value of each one. A lot of times this one, when you look it up, will be simplified in some regard. So you might see it with the 180 multiplied across, such as this. You might also see it where they then break up your fraction and write it as 180 minus 360 over n. Personally, I think this is more work to memorize something else, so I'm just going to remember the interior angles and then realize that I can divide by my number of angles. I think that's easier to hang on to. Now the sum of the exterior angles is kind of fun because no matter what the shape is, it's always going to be 360. I'm hoping you saw that with your exploration, but it turns out that every time you find those exterior angles and you divide by, and you add them all up, it's always going to be 360. And the idea behind that is basically how many more degrees do you need to make a circle? And it's kind of evening that on out. So there's a connection there in the background. That means, similar as the second one, if I want to find the measure of one exterior angle, all you got to do is take the sum of all of them and divide by your number of angles n. And so we have 360 divided by n. So you should have some form of these statements. They might look a little different, but as long as they're equivalent, that's great. And what I want to highlight with an example is we can use these to find more details. So say, for example, I came up to you and I say, find the measure of an interior angle for a regular 20-agon or 20-sided figure, right? You've got options for how to solve this. You could start by finding the total interior sum. In which case we would have 20 minus 2 times 180. So that would be 18 times 180. Let me grab my calculator over here because it would take me a while to do that in my head. And so I would have 18 times 180 would give me 3,240. And then if I wanted one angle, I would need to take that number, divide by my number of angles, or in this case 20, and I would have 162 degrees, right? And that is a valid solution. But these are all interconnected, so I could go straight to the fact that, okay, I know that I know that the sum of the exterior angles is 360. So one exterior angle is going to be 360 over 20, which is 18 degrees. And then it must be that since the interior and exterior angles are supplementary, because remember that figure where we saw the straight line extending off? So in order to find one interior, I can simply find the supplement. So that's going to be 180 minus 18, which equals 162. And so you've got tons of strategies you can use. All these pieces are interconnected, all the formulas are, so have a basic understanding, but even just holding on to these two, how do you find the sum of the interior, knowing that all the exterior added 360, that'll usually give you enough info to find any of the pieces that you want.